When we were created in innocence. We enjoyed harmony with God and with creation. But then we focused on our desires of the flesh, and therefore we were cast out of paradise. We are thrown out of the harmony that we enjoyed with God. But God did not want us to perish in sinfulness. So He started making efforts to mend the relationship that had broken. He started making efforts to bridge the gap. And so He sent prophets and many other people to remind us about our relationship with God. Humanity that had enjoyed innocence with God now was in a fallen state. And this was visible in the life of the Israelites. But God still wanted to have a relationship with humanity. And so He chose the Israelites to be His own nation, to be His own people, so that through this nation He would reach out also to many other nations. And to seal this relationship, He gave the people the 10 Commandments, the law, so that this would become a set of principles or guides that would help the people to guide their relationship with God. You and I know very well that the Israelites were not perfect people, even though they were chosen as a holy nation. Just like ourselves, regardless of our baptism, we still go back to our old life. And so these Israelites continued to fall from grace. They continued to transgress. And finally, God had to send His only begotten Son, Jesus, to come and mend the relationship once and for all. In the gospel of today, we see Jesus that walks into the temple and he finds people selling, doing trade, and he begins to cleanse the temple, because that is not supposed to be happening in the house of God. That is wrong and it should not be happening. And he says, you're not going to make the house of God a house of trade. And so he begins to overturn everything. What is Jesus actually doing in this action of cleansing the temple? Jesus, in a way, is reminding humanity about its transgression. That many times humanity has made the house of God a house of trade. And it is His duty, Jesus, to bring back sanity in the house of God. And that is why He begins to overturn the tables of trade. You and I have made the house of God, our bodies, our hearts, a house of trade. Those many times that we have done things or that we have involved ourselves in activities that continually damage our relationship with God and with one another, we have involved ourselves in activities of trade. And Jesus today is also coming into our lives, into our hearts, to cleanse us, to remove all those things that have destroyed our relationship with God. And so, as Jesus is doing these actions or this action, our response to Him should be one of openness, that we open our hearts so that Jesus can do His work. Jesus wants to restore us. Jesus wants to bring us back to paradise where we were cast out by God because of our transgression. Jesus wants to bridge the gap that was created between God and man, between God and humanity. But our cooperation is important, because Jesus is not forcing the grace of restoration on us. We have to be receptive. As long as we remain closed, we will never experience restoration. And today we are invited to open up, to open ourselves so that Jesus can do His work. And what is Jesus doing? He's cleansing us. He's bringing us back to harmony. He's bringing us back to innocence. He wants to bridge that gap which we continually create because of our transgression. And the law, the 10 Commandments, and many other precepts and Christian values help us to guide our morality, help us to guide our faith. But as long as we remain closed, we will not be restored. Jesus wants to make us holy again. You and I know that holiness is not about looking good. It is about doing good. And that should be the path that we should take. The path of doing good, not just looking good. When we talk about restoration, we're talking about doing good before God and before one another. Amen.